In the bottom left side, the Kaisi Gamer Zerg. In the blue, it is Solar. In the top right side, there is a red Terran fighting for the Dragon Phoenix Gamers. It is Cure. The Dragon Phoenix Gamers, often known as one of the very, very best teams. Quite capable of winning. Cure, though, I asked him if he was feeling well today. He mentioned he wasn't feeling all too great. He wasn't able to win much, so Solar quite a difficult opponent right now, I imagine, for someone that is not feeling all too great. Now, to be fair, Solar also a player that sometimes does have those days. But I haven't asked him if this is one of those days, so I'm just gonna assume it's one of his good days, since those happen a lot more frequently than his bad days. Pretty standard opening so far for both of these players. Kind of just tagging along the regular TVC route. Partaking in the matchup as we all know and love it. I feel like the music might be a tad high, I don't know. Let me know. Maybe it's just on my sound, my side. Reaper Scout opening here. Pretty normal, as we mentioned. Cure, a player that likes to open up pretty regular, and then he does have a lot of twists and turns he can take. I suppose I have seen the occasional proxied Rexes out of him as well. But when I think about Cure, those are not necessarily the strategies I imagine immediately. You know, the very simple but incredibly tough timing attacks and pushes. Okay, loses the Reaper there, trying to get himself out. Maybe could have picked off another Zergling in exchange, which probably would have lowered the survival likability of the Reaper, but well, at least there is free creep spreading allowed for the time being on Solar's part. Up until the Hellions or something else Terranized will be arriving there on the other side of the map. Merrick's not entirely certain where to go. Finds his spot. There you are. Wants to reactor out those Hellions. One of them now kind of trying to look around. Tries to move it back. Seeing the Overlord Scout come in, may have been anticipating perhaps a Zergling Scout to run in through the front door as well, or trying to get a bit of a scout going. Perhaps, and now he does have the 3 Hellions set up together. It's been a while since he's been across the map here. Hopes to gather up a bit more information, perhaps, as well as the Creep Tumor Denial. Which hasn't grown to an insane proportion, but is still, you know, a well set up for the initial part of this game. I don't see any real bushes arriving before that is, you know, well spread out properly here. Ready to receive some guests on the beautiful velvet carpet. Alright. Like that, alright. Oh, that is a bit better. Looking at the overall audio numbers, you don't always change them, but sometimes they happen to change themselves or something. No blood being shed between the Overlords and the Viking there. These Hellions, though, they might be looking to, well, crispify some units here as they will march across all those queens. The door is open. There are some Zerglings here not yet participating as they know that is still a lot of Hellions. They want those queens to be there as quickly as possible when they actually start engaging. And, well, to be fair, that is quite the 7 kills. Oh, there's a the Viking in the main base. Sorry, I almost got it a Raven. It's not a Raven, but it's 7 drone kills. I think you might be expecting a little bit more with 9 Hellions and a Viking as well. Also a Liberator, which I managed to miss. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried after all of that if I were in solo shoes here. Well, you know, if I was, I would still be worried because no matter in what fine position I would find myself, Q would beat me anyway. Circling Scout sees not that many units here at the 3rd base, nor any real units being sent to, well, deal with this. So you can imagine that the army must be somewhere, and that somewhere could very well be coming towards you. Find yourselves in a bit of a tug of war with that medevac right there. 2 healing parties, keeping the units on both fronts alive. Hellions. Do we have an armory as well? Yes, we do. So these could turn into Hellbats right here if you're once. There is a considerable amount of banelings right now available though for solar. 7 of them on the menu as this little ramp area here is definitely gonna put all those Terran units awfully close together. So Kjær reconsiders his options, goes towards the northern side entrance this time around. A lot more room to spread out. Let's see how well this could go for him. There's a run by as well of Zerglings managing to find a sweet spot right now. That is calling most of Kjær's units back to the front. Or, well, the Terran front, I should say. The home front. Let's call it the home front. +2/+2 coming in a little bit earlier for Solar as well. Could be helping him out here. Still way too loud. Alright. Still loud, isn't it? Wow. Is it not changing when I do it? It is. Alright, how about this? Okay, coming in with the Halberds, a counter-attack right here with the Zerglings as well. Quite a bit of trouble steering for Kjær. Kjær once again decides to make the pull back to his own bases. So far, only using 4 SCVs. That is an admirable defense. The Widowmine's a little bit homicidal towards the other Terran units right there. And now we do have some SCVs being picked off. Having the 8 SCVs die right there. Perhaps not the end of the world, but definitely puts Kjær in a bit of a difficult position as he never really managed to get across the map right now. As he's gonna try again in some other way or fashion, but he has to realize that those counterattacks are quite likely to happen. If Solar is banking on them this much already twice, then you gotta leave enough boys at home to defend those places. Let's see what he has still set up. Widow Mines over here. That's a fancy choice. More Widow Mines on pretty much each location. A couple of Marines and Hellbats here and there. Let's hope that will be enough. Don't see that much being sent on a big flank right now, so perhaps Solar hoping to just disseminate the entire Terran army right here, right now. And, well, he does definitely have a good amount of numbers to make it happen. 3 medevacs full of supply do manage to escape. That's still a rough kind of area. A little bit lucky with the detonation on that Zergling right there, it feels like, but works out for Solar. Ooh. Alright, reasonable split. Keep some units alive on the left flank. There is Kjør once more running in towards a mineral line, but once more that is Zerglings in the way. The Alberton Marines are doing a very good job though, clearing this out so far. The upgrades have equaled out pretty much. They have entirely, in fact. Talk down the banelings. There's one more baneling coming in. Decides to head on out of there. There was a big baneling hit as well on the Terran base. Here, maintaining safety regulations there right now again. Looks like no baneling hazards in the mineral line any longer. It's a self-solving problem after all, isn't it? Couple more drones. Get knocked down. Been on max supply now for a while. He's starting to incorporate the Lurkers as well as Vipers into his army composition, which could be a big deal here. Especially to kind of shut down these run-by attacks of the Terran. They would make it a hell of a lot easier to stop these units from going anywhere the hell they want to. These drops though also, I would have added a Spire a while back, just a couple of Mutalisks to stop those medevacts from fleeing freely. And continually harassing you like such. I guess the Viper is going to fulfill this role as well. There we go. Bit of fancy spell casting and gets rid of the threat. Sort of. Takes a while, but the Marines and Marauders die eventually as well. Another run-by attack from here on the left flank, looking for more meat to devour. Solar, it's more than enough again. Doesn't have that many workers just quite yet. Is still heavily relying on to the Zergling Baneling army composition. And if we take a look at the resources lost tab, actually he's trading quite well with them overall. Which does put me in a spot of fear for Kjør. He is only one base behind though. Overall, he has been behind on supply, but the supply that he has, he's been able to put in the positions where he desperately needs to. ICMP onto the Vipers, keeping his siege tanks safe from the of the Viper fog. Great attack here once again from Kjør. A small batch of units, enough to shoot down a hatchery right there. One allows Solar to expand freely too quickly. That's exactly what he needs to do right now. Just keep the Zerg slowed down. Don't let him overtake the entirety of his side of the map at the speed that he would like to. Because that will allow him to make those just ginormous balls of baneling over and over again. Keep rolling in. Yeah, he's doing an alright job at denying that, or trying to. He's definitely taking punches himself as well. Harpoons, valuable ghosts getting knocked down a tag. More attack of Terran units on the other side. 5 drones in return. That base is going to stay alive though. This is base-wise and income-wise looking pretty sharp now for Solar, I would say. Jumping back and forth between about 600 to 1800 extra income on that graph right there, which is, I believe, about for a minute's time. Small interminglings. That creep spread making it further and further difficult for Kjør to go unnoticed and start applying pressure onto these Zerg bases. I would love to start seeing some sensor towers or some extra ones being set up by Kjør. But perhaps he just imagined that having most of his army on this flank would be enough. Unfortunately for him, it's not enough to defend that base. And now in his main base there is a just ginormous flood of lurkers landing in that vicinity as well. As definitely things are looking like this should be the end here of Kjør. It was nice that he got this base at that time. I thought for a moment he was starting to get himself back into this, but I guess the trades just weren't efficient enough. Right, the Zerg is supposed to trade inefficiently with the Zergling, Baneling, and Solar just managed to avoid that entirely, and pretty much only got solid trades throughout. Just very, very slightly inefficient, which is more than enough if you know, have the economy to back it. Right, Lurkers back in here. Just seeing Solar slowly but surely take the victory here. It's very hard to imagine him losing this still. There we are. GG is called. In all honesty though, you know, when these pro players say they're not having a great day, it could just be one of those things they do to pat their confidence in a way, you know, just saying, no, it's just a bad day. It's just a bad day. Don't worry about it. It's a great day today. Oh. That is good to know. It's not for Kjør fans. So I almost forgot to put a point on the board. Almost forgot to put a point on the board. Keeping things simple for us here. Nothing extravagant being pulled by either of these players in the early game. Allows us to read whatever we want meanwhile, or multitask our way along with other activities as the game slowly progresses. Is the first Reaper. We will grab a taxi and follow that Reaper. See where it leads us to. To an alien base. Start shooting at the Zerglings a little bit. As you do. Getting quite a bit of damage. That queen seems rather late overall. There are 6 links available. One of them goes down. Doesn't get a second one, but gets a couple of shots in the face from the queen there. The Reaper does. Gets a couple more. Can't get enough of it, it seems like. Almost dies, but he does survive to scout another day. His main base, a 3rd CC, coming along quite quickly. Back to the Hellion tech tree, as well as that starport. Keep in mind we had the Liberator starting up previously. Would be fun to see that in action this time around if he goes for that strategy once more. Oh, that is not the Reaper that I wanted to follow. Looked like I had it selected, but I bet that was the selection of Kjør. Yeah, there you go. You can see it's a different line. He's selecting this right now. Now I'm selecting it. Alright, well, the more you know. Viking? We started off with a Viking as well, right? pretty sure we did. Liberator, there it is. That's the fun. Talking about some fun, those Hellions are having some, trying to bake up a couple of drones. Don't manage to get any, it looks like. Their friend, the Reaper, did get eaten, I imagine, by the Zerglings at some point once that speed got activated. Overlord sees the third command center going along. Should give Solar a little bit of a heads up of the capabilities Kjør can throw at him right now. Or the number of units. Which is always nice for the Zerg, as that is the race where you're still trying to figure out exactly what your opponent is doing, so you can optimize what you're doing as hopefully as best as you can. Liberator heading towards the main base. I believe that kind of got spotted by some Zerglings there at some point. Lions towards the third. Having trouble with Zerglings as well, though it looks like. Liberator still standing still. There is a Spore Crawler and a Queen there anyway, regardless, so that's a rough time to do much with. Zergling run by. Doesn't find any worker kills either. That is remarkable. After all of that, only one SCV has died in total. I'm not even sure if that happened during that period of time. I'd like to think that happened at an entirely different time. When did that happen? When did that SCV die? Scouting something? Probably? Maybe? Maybe it was then. Getting rid of a couple more creep tumors. Queens, unfortunately for Kjør, rather close by. Getting the creep tumors even further along. Just got some other ones. May as well. Use up that energy, Mrs. Queens. Might be some gaps developing here overall. But we'll see. Ooh, oh, yeah, there it is. Trading energy for energy here, the two are. Liberator has been set up as well. Got himself 2 drones, it has. Not bad. Not bad at all. Setting up the double medevac drop. Got himself the, well, +1/+1 still a little bit off together with the combat shields. Where are those engineering bases? Ah, there they are. Well, it's like the Zerglings arrived a little bit quicker than I had anticipated. But they are here and they're ready to play. Those Marines getting quite a few of them surrounded right there is not what you like to see. And again, hitting this timing before these upgrades finish up. I'm pretty sure those are supposed to align a bit better in previous games I've seen from him playing this build order. And there we are. Now they're finishing up. Now so much more punch and just meat on those boys. It is a shame to have seen so many of them already go down before all of those things started kicking in, and even losing quite a couple of them due to Baneling detonation there. Nice rough. Left flank has another army set up, starting to look rather intimidating. Main base getting further and further fortified with the siege tanks right there. Top flank of the attack, really not much left there anymore. Opens up these Zerglings to just, well, each and every one of them head towards the other attack. Wow. And well, pretty fine cleanup right there for the Zerg. Training a lot less efficiently though, to be fair. So are the supplies looking a lot more equally spread out as well. In that previous game, we definitely had Solar with a bit of a lead there in the overall supply. This time around, Kurt might have a lot more packing with these guns on the high ground than he's had before. Then again, I mean, the run-bys, we've seen them in that last game. They are not an uncommon sight, luckily. Kurt, once again, seemingly prepared. A bit better than that previous game, and prevents catastrophe from occurring. His push, always an awkward moment where you're not really looking forward to press onto that creep, but at the same time, you are giving the Zerg a lot of time to just pile up more and more Zerglings and more banelings to rush whatever you have got set up here. Now, there's still a very reasonable number of Marines remaining here, so definitely can try to push in. Has to be extremely careful. You target down those banelings, doesn't want needless detonations. Okay, well, that could have gone a lot worse. He's ahead, 20 supply-ish right now. And the worker count looking pretty good as well. Base numbers for Cure, 4 to 5. Then again, kind of expect that to happen. Shouldn't worry Cure all too much for the time being, especially if he manages to get a kill here. He's up against the clock though. 3 Ultralisk about to pop out with that chitinous plating. Might be too much to handle for this mostly Marine army. A couple of siege tanks mixed in between as well. More run-bys. This missile turret and supply depot, kind of these small buildings here, make it so much more difficult for those Zerglings seemingly to get the damage they're looking for. A couple of Marines that not being commanded as much as they perhaps could have. Once again, a well-placed missile turret helping out against those run-bys. Chitinous plating. Ooh, blinding clouds into the siege tanks. A lot of the Marines struggle with it as well, as this attack is definitely going to struggle against those Ultralisk Liberators. Desperate attempt to try and set up some sort of damage against those monstrosities coming down the hill. Is there a planetary fortress here? Alright, that might be sufficient. That planetary fortress needs to hit those banelings before they go anywhere. Oh. And that is a dead planetary fortress, and that is a dead Cure also. Man, that must be frustrating for him. Game number 3. Could he take it? 3 games in a row without a single loss in between. It's the Blue Zerg from Kaisi Gamers. It is Solar. And the man we most likely all would like to see succeed here, at least, once or twice. It's the Red Terran fighting for Dragon Phoenix Gamers. It is Cure. Usually known as the unstoppable force in the online tournaments, but, well, I don't know anymore. I think he lost against, what was it? Was it against Zest? No, I forgot. The previous Super Series we've done, he was also there, and I'm not I might be misremembering this, but I feel like he lost in the first round there as well. Just having a rough time overall. Competition getting stiffer and stiffer. People trying to catch up with the heavy hitters on the top of the scene. Well, yeah, makes sense. People just keep on improving, right? Gotta keep evolving yourself as well, and sometimes that goes a little bit slower for you than it did for your opponent in a certain period of time. That doesn't mean you won't be able to catch up. The likelihood of that gap developing is the same kind of likelihood in life overall for the gap to close again later down the line. As long as both the players put in the effort and the hours. Okay. Setting up the same way as we are used to from these two players. Wondering if we'll get to see the exact same build here out of Kjør. I know he has a couple of other things here up his sleeve as well, but it's looking remarkably similar once more. Kjør here once again delaying the two queens a little bit, I assume, for the quicker third hatch. Does mean that the Reaper gets a single circling kill, but I don't think Solar is all too upset about that for the time being. Third TC, there's the starport, factory with reactor. Anyone ordered a Kjør special for a third time in a row? I guess it was Kjør. Let's see how well it pans out for him this time around. To be fair, they has seemingly been getting better in the 2 rounds beforehand. Maybe this third time, you know, we'll get to see it all come together with the timing attack as well. Nicely syncing up with the Marines' initial attack to the front. Ooh, there it is. Okay, no, we do have a bit of a mix-up here. Getting himself a Banshee involved in the fight. Kjør known for his incredible Banshee control, so that's nice to see. Whenever I see Kjør getting Banshees, I'm like, why don't you get these units just every single game and only play with this unit? Because he always finds damage with them. He always does. He always finds the most frustrating of places for his opponents to have to deal with. Did that get scouted at Tech Lab? Yes, it did. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, like I said, that doesn't mean these Banshees won't be dealing some damage to the Zerg, though. Yes, he is making Spore Crawlers, and yeah, he may have 7 Queens, but none of that means that these Banshees won't deal damage. Alright? Trust me. I really hope he does deal damage with them now. Don't make me look like a fool, Kjør. Fingers crossed. And Hellions almost got them the Henshees. The Henshees on the left and the bottom left side, awaiting creep to spread their way. 2 Banshee pair now grouped up together. They were split up at birth and found each other on the through the use of the I don't know, the Terran internet. Yeah, that was not too good. Keeps them both alive. Well then. Well then. So ends the tales of the 2 Banshee sisters. That was a lot of queens. That was quite a lot. I think the Banshees got spotted by this Overlord right here. This is the culprit. They just barely got spotted there before they went into Cloak. And all the queens knew exactly where to go. The typical story of the Overlord crying Banshee. That is inspired tale of the boy who cried wolf. But then the Overlord only cries Banshee when there's an actual Banshee most of the time. Really, what they do, they paint your map. They run into your control room and they give you an update on the map. And then it's up to you to be like, wait, so what did you see? It's like, I don't know, sir. You'd have to go look yourself. Thank you, Mr. Overlord. Thank you. Right, Hellions looking for those creep tumors. Doing a pretty fine job. In comes the rest of the commandos. 2 Widow Mines and a fair amount of Marines. Accompanied by, well, upgrades. At least the +1 attack is about to finish up here. Combat shields and armor. Gonna be a little while longer. It's okay for him to try and put some pressure onto Solar before, but you really don't want to be taking any fights before that finishes. Okay. The setup is here. Sees the pins. He has to roll a strike against these banelings right now with his, well, hopefully Widow Mines. He's got a fair amount of them. There's 5 of them. You know, that's the amount where you'll, as a Zerg, you dodged 4 of them, and then you're like, well, they must be all gone now, right? So maybe that will happen. Ooh, Widow Mine. Ooh, doesn't get the detonation there. Does not manage. Nice spread out here from Kjør. Is it going to be enough? Where are those Widow Mines? I think there is still 1 remaining. It is quite far back. It's kind of up to these Marines in a single hellbat right now. Perhaps the 2 Widow Mines trying to recuperate, replenish their... Find another rocket. I don't know what they're doing. Is that... I guess they're making rockets in the Widow Mine. I'll have to finish up and we'll be ready to shoot again. Oh. Fire loose. Alright, well, that's... Oh, what was that, really? Spreading out fairly reasonable, but... Okay. Hold the phone. Is this going to start breaking now? I think he may have gotten himself a base, especially with that Widow Mine hit right here. Needs to tuck down the banelings. And only loses a small amount of Marines in the left flank, but he does get the hatchery. He's continuing to push. I think you are very safe to just pick up and leave here. Even gets the majority of the creep tumors on this left flank, as Solo's going to be licking his wounds. This is the toughest position we've seen him in so far. In this best of 5, I would say. Luckily, it's not a best of 3, because then we wouldn't have had this game. More Widow Mines being constructed. Oh, get in the ground, Oh, that is a nice detonation right there. A lot of green being splattered about. Solar up against the wall right now. His back is having to turn regardless, as there is more Marines coming through the wall, which his back is up against. Who could have guessed? Lurkers coming in as well. They might be able to provide a little layer of safety here, which is desperately needed for Solar. He still has a wealthy amount of drones. He still has a good, well, amount of army supply with it to go with. His base count, desperate need to start getting larger though. Especially with Kjør not sitting by idly on his side of the map. We see quite a couple of command centers being constructed. Very likely those will start making their way to other locations to become planetary fortresses. The planetary butterfly. That's a daring drop, if I may say so. 5 medevacs, that is all Marines, pure Marines, into the main base. Running over a couple of spore crawlers there, having a rough time at it. The Lurker then still making an upgrade happen here for what the Lurkers, but the Marines are going to try to, well, fight their way out of this. I am assume that was, as they pick up most of them. It's a weird kind of attack, but he gets the hive. I suppose that does stop the Zerg from making Vipers for the time being. So if he manages to get a couple of EMPs or snipes into those bad boys, perhaps that will give Kjør a bit of safety against those types of units. Starting up some nuclear missiles as well. Ooh. The hive killing pair of Marines right there. Being shot down right now. Is potential with a mining devastation. No. More baning devastation rolling into the Terran right there. Solar perhaps has found himself a bit of breathing room. I don't think he should be able to push in here whatsoever onto Kjør's side of the map. At least not where he is set up with, you know, 90% of his units. Little Nuki ghost boy coming along. Alright, and well, Solar is actually going to try and clear this area out here. Against my worst judgment. There goes the nuke into this bit of town. Wants to try and clear out the area overall. Force those lurkers backwards. Let's manage to do so, cancelling the nuke. But Solar, even though he's down 20 supply, still providing quite a reasonable amount of threat here. Now Kjør is okay to back up from this base because he did manage to secure the bottom right side. He should still be pretty fine. Has more than enough workers. Should have enough army supply to stop this encroachment onto any of his other bases. At least from that side, where he is set up neatly. The other side, on the other hand, this is looking a little bit exposed. Lurkers waddling their way over there could be quite the devious strategy here for Solar. 2 medevacs. There's that ghost. The man that was supposed to shoot a nuke here. We actually stop him from... Wow. Micro. Yeah, impressive. He stopped the ghost from not shooting manually. Unless if he's manual shooting. How is that called? Stop auto fire or something like that they have? Where they put the gun away? You know what I mean. Creep is pretty bad. Yeah, the creep is pretty bad. But I mean, the position for Solar has been pretty horrible for a while now. Overall, so it makes sense that the creep is representing that, right? Where did this nuke go? We missed it. That's alright. It's not doing anything anyway. Kjør quickly on the money. Yeah. That's it. That's what it's called. Thank you. Thank you. Alright. What's the income like? Couple of dips into the red. Didn't see that very much before. Still ahead with that 20 to 30 supply lead. Yeah, finally feeling confident to start pushing across the map again. As his +3/+3 upgrades completed for the infantry. Starting to grab the vehicle upgrades as well. Talking about grabbing things, oh my dear lord, that almost was massive, wasn't it? Solid timing that out, probably just so he barely wouldn't lose all those units running in there. 17 drones, yeah, 17 drones getting grabbed by the Terran infantry. Some snipes hitting the Viper, as well as some lurkers. Getting another one right there. Very well done. Keeps the Liberator even alive. This army of Cure moving forwards. It's going to be a rough one to fight into for Solar. Really would like to have him go up to 200 supply before he attempts this. But is he going to be allowed to get up to 200 supply? If Cure manages to keep the pressure up as much as possible here, you know, just keep pushing, keep throwing those snipes down, keep slowly taking out lurkers. With Liberators, with Ghosts, whatever you can. It's not happening very quickly, but it is happening. Come on, come on. Ugh. Not quite making it connect right there. Weird dead space right now between the two armies. Making sure on the minimap that there's not something else coming in somewhere, but... oh, well, I guess this is a bit of a... Ooh, that is... some spikeage right there. Hopefully this is a lot. It's been happening more often on the Korean servers. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm no... admin. Or I don't have any, whatchamacallit, referee rights, so I can't actually pause the game. We have a Korean moderator in here that will, well, should pause the game if things get laggy for these players, as well as the players that should be able to pause the game if things get laggy. There we go. Alright. Let me try and figure out anything that I have that could be causing this. I hope not. Maybe? Well, we'll see. We'll see. It has been happening sometimes, though, for some reason. Whenever I connect to the Korean servers for these events, suddenly the whale just bites into the cable somewhere along the lines. Some internet cable somewhere, but with some animal. Yeah. Alright, well, things do continue onwards. Bottom right side fully claimed now by Cure. Solar attempting a little bit of a reach into that area, but doesn't manage to secure it. Did lose more of the bases on the top left side, Solar did though. So, Cure in full control for the time being when it comes to amount of bases these two players have. Snipes landing on the lurkers, but unfortunately not enough to truly kill any of them for the time being. Right flank looking a little bit weak here for the Zerg units, getting more of his Banelings and Hydralisks sniped off as the hatchery most likely will continue to fall. Right. Ooh, actually, this army of Cure having to run backwards. Fairly confident in saying that they would have been able to clear that had they really committed for it. Perhaps the committal will be occurring here. There we are. That is a hatchery going down. But with most of the army of the Zerg now on the other side of the map, suddenly the bottom right side no longer a safe space for the SCVs either. 11 of them fall, together with the Planetary trying to protect them. Solar reclaiming the... well, attempting to reclaim this bottom right side. It does appear like he is starting to falter in his supply. And as long as Cure can deny even one more base right now, I feel like that could be a capitulating moment. What does he get here? Ah! He got him. He got one. He got a drone. Yeah, Solar. It's like a wild beast trying to strike out here. A little hold position onto these units right there. That is a lovely play. Nice to be able to catch that, see that happening. Fortunately for the Lurkers, though, struggling against those cloaked ghosts, sniping away at them. Their partners in crime will arrive at the initial third base of Pure. As this becomes a mighty, bloody brawl between the two players right now. Any units starting to matter quite a bit. Cure, though, still has a fair majority lead in his bank. Still 3k minerals, as well as, well, it doesn't have as much gas as Solar, but you don't necessarily need as much gas here as the Terran. That being, well, I guess you could say the same thing for the army composition of the Zerg these days. The Zergling costing no gas whatsoever, of course. That does seem to be the point of congestion in the economy of the for Solar here. Yes, no. Gonna have even less of those minerals coming in here if Kyo actually does try to commit, does decide to move backwards here. Realizing Zerg units were coming in through this flank with the help of his sensor tower. And what was that? A little misclick. There's another nuke being shot off. There it goes, up into the sky. Lovely trail of smoke. Right, no, yeah, not gonna hit anything except for the medevac. Yeah, the medevac goes down. Fair enough. You know what else goes down? Unprotected orbital command centers. Perhaps some fairly unprotected planetary fortresses. I struggle to say those words, as they are planetary fortresses. They are supposed to protect themselves, but that is unfortunately not always enough. Things are seemingly starting to fall apart here for Cure. He was in a wonderful position, yet struggled to close it out. Struggled to stay in that position and stop Solar from retaliating on any side of, well, on Cure's basis. It's all falling. It's all falling apart. That bank for Cure is coming in handy right now, though. Starting to empty out, and it has facilitated about 40 extra supply available in the army supply. So this could very well still come up for Cure, but man, it's just so rough. There's more bases popping up continuously from Solar. He's just grabbing them left, right, and bottom right, anywhere where they are available. He just puts up a hatchery at this moment, and Cure just unable to keep up with his own army movements to keep denying them. Like, sure, he can deny one base here, but I mean, this one is now the important one. He needs to get wrapped that one as well. Circling run buys the ever-present danger as well. Does get stopped dead in its track this time. They have been picking off SCPs throughout this game as well. Picking up small pockets of ghosts. Infrared Widowmines, all the swords. Can lead into dangerous territory for the Terran as well if they don't manage to get that efficiency that their units are promising to get, in a way, when you're banking on them, right? When you're starting the production of these. That is a tremendous amount of Zerglings with adrenal glands. +3/+3, even a +3/+3 for the infantry. Not going to be enough on its own to help out against that number of Zerglings. I suppose they did still trade quite efficiently, and once again, that is the name of the game right now for Pure. Is to keep being as efficient as possible. Nice little lines being made to keep the Banelings at bay, and this could be the moment. He's so close. So much of that infantry that you think is his, though, is the changelings. And the Lurkers just, yet again, a little bit too tough for Kyo to feel comfortable pushing into this location right now. Alright, some snipes successfully managing to land right here, keeping those Lurkers incredibly low, including 2 of them so far. Not that many left any longer. Only 2 of them. There's a hell of a lot of snipes here available. Let's see if they are going to land. Yes, they do. Lurker threat annihilated for the time being. Banelings, how many are left? Only a singular Baneling, guys. I think we have the moment. The Cure's moment finally arrives. GG is called, and that was a back and forth for the ages. My goodness. Solar and Cure just absolutely tormenting one another to the extremes. What to expect from our Terran boy this time around? We saw the Banshees coming in, flying in, attempting to get some stuff done. Unfortunately, that didn't go as well as they would have liked to have had it gone. Unfortunately, they got spotted by that Overlord, of course. And flew a little bit too close to the Queens. Factory on the way. Simple stuff. The regular. Actually attempting that to go after that drone for a little bit, forcing the extractor. Not too bad. And the third drone, well, another drone I should say, being sent out. They're going to grab the other third base. So already a slight success here for Cure. Doesn't want to let Solar get away too quickly with this drone right here either. He does manage to evade capture by the Reaper. Maybe gunfire by the Reaper. Tumor annihilated as well. This Reaper is getting some work done so far. Very nice. May not seem like a lot, but you know what? That is a mental victory overall, if I've ever seen one as well. For a player that was saying that he wasn't feeling too great and losing a lot of his games. Winning a game and then immediately afterwards having the game start like this. Could be feeling pretty nice about it. Indeed it is another fast 3cc. And there we go. Again the Banshees as well. Typical Cure. Showing us the almost same build here. Does get stealth as well. Cloak. So I guess it is the same build as we saw the previous game. Once again it gets scouted here. This time around by Zerkling of all things. Very unfortunate with the 2 Hellions nearby trying to prevent that exact thing from happening, I imagine. Could have helped to have this perhaps a bit further backwards, but I'm not sure how he did his add-ons either, so maybe that wouldn't have worked out with the way he was planning that. But yeah, having these Banshees being spotted, I suppose you could just use them for Overlord spotters. Get those floating balloons away from the high grounds. Alright. As soon as the second Banshee is out, I assume we'll be seeing these Hellions and the Banshees going towards the Zerg side of the map here. Splitting up the Hellions, keeping 2 of them behind. A smart choice. Pretty much every single game so far has had those circling run-bys attempted. Baneling Nest about to finish up as well. Banshees having a bit more success staying hidden on the minimap so far, but regardless, the Queens will still be arriving here. And yeah, there we go. Spore Crawler and a Queen still gets 5 drones. Not too shabby. I guess he attacked over here with the Hellions, so maybe the Queen movements already came about after seeing those Hellions coming this way. So perhaps that Hellion harassment, if it just poked upwards a little bit further, maybe it would have bought more time for those Banshees. I don't know. Ooh, losing one of them as well. Losing 2? No, losing 1. Alright. Flip side though, there is the Hellions getting rid of a lot of creep here. Very nice to see. It's going to be a while before those Queens waddle their way back across. Now the Hellions are over here. Easy picking creep tumors. There we go. Make those Queens spend most of their energy just getting that creep spread back to where it was. Actually, he has so many Queens, it's going to be a while before they use up all their energy. I guess these guys are now kind of low. Alright. Oh, there it is. Okay. Looks like it's pretty sharp with the timing this time around. This is how you want these things to line up right now. First wave of Marines comes in. +1/+1. Finishes up. 10 seconds until combat shield is here as well. Gets rid of, again, most of creep tumors here. Let's see what the next step of his plan is overall. Waits for the Queens to arrive. Gets one of them killed off. Now takes the fight with the circling Baneling in position. Losing a couple of the boys. Another medevac drop on the top right. Finding a bit of success for the time being. Actually, that is quite the success. A lot of those Banelings getting targeted down. Final Baneling alive, actually, I think. No, there has been more morphed. 6 of them only remain. Has to remake 16 of them, though. That's quite a number. A little bad rally of those Banelings coming along the other side. And here is showing us some fantastic value with those trades for the time being. Bringing the Hellions back in again here. Still has those bad boys alive. Does he still have the Banshee as well? Yes, he does. That Banshee is denying a base. Talk about value. Might be a little while before he gets this. Not even sure if he will entirely, as that Hydralisk is coming along. Make that 3 Hydralisk. Perhaps just a bit misplaced that he... Ooh! That was clutch. That was extremely clutch. Those Banelings still could have made a connection as well. Alright, well, weird things happen on the screen right there. I guess you could have seen that yourself as well. The Banelings of Solar not always going where I think he wants them to go on this map. Struggling with the pathing here and there a little bit. 5th base of Solar gets denied. Nearing the 10-minute mark. Definitely a base you would like to have established. Doesn't want to be stuck on the full base to full base against the Terran once again. However, is starting to add up his own lurk attack here. With the Marines from the left flank, so that is now a base that has some potential to grow. Might be able to be mined from in a little bit. Again, Cure. Humans think that he's not going to send anything over there at any point in the future. His assault on the right flank, also getting annihilated for the time being. Wasn't paying perfect attention to those siege tank shots, but I was kind of looking at the baneling clumps. I didn't see too many siege tanks managing to hit where it would have hurt the most, I want to say. Those siege tanks truly quite the threat against those banelings if they are two clumps up together. But the Terran will have to target fire those banelings, of course, to make that damage be as efficient as it potentially could be. Spread out the Marines at the same time. Make sure your units are target firing the banelings as well. Here we go. Let's see. That siege tank just died too quickly. There we go. That was a nice target. Another attack. Another 5th base. Most likely gonna go down. Just needs to target it. And there it goes. More fountains of red rather than 5th bases for Solar, and that is gonna have to be quite frustrating. That's the way he has approached this map so far with his Zergling Baneling army composition. He has traded abysmally. Horrendously bad. And the Lurkers are gonna have to try and catch up for all of this. Are having a good start so far. Sweeping the floor with a couple of Marines as well as there's 2 siege tanks there. Needs to gather up a bit more of that value himself, I want to say. Just when you think you have enough Marines, more Zerglings show up. Alright. Denial on the 5th base. Kjør adding in more and more of his own high tier units as well. Those ghosts starting to become more and more important on that production tab, as we can see. More and more prevalent. Small marine drop into the main base. Could have a bit of success together with the attack on the right flank. This time around that is a 6th base. The 5th base full Solar has finally started mining now for a little bit. The attack for Kjør, most likely. I don't really see this. Right, yeah, has to pick up too many Zerglings there once again. That being said, Kjør is working his way up to 6th base himself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. He's getting a 6th base before Solar is. Solar has been gaining a bit on the efficiency here overall. I started trading out a bit more equally. It's just the mineral count that is quite subsided to in his disadvantage. With the way he's sending in these Zerglings quite aggressively, so now and again. To be fair, that is kind of what you have to do in these situations where there's just a Marine flock running in, right? It's better to trade out poorly with Zerglings than to lose one of those bases. Does he have another Nidus network? Yes, he does. You can see that Overseer there, and you just know, don't you? Just immediately aware of that plan right there. Sensor towers helping out, spotting that movement this time around. Kjør not gonna get blindsided by a Nidus network. 3 siege tanks, well actually 2 siege tanks and a ghost. And another ghost. More than enough to do this. Nidus network now on potential basis for Kjør to take. Having a lurker presence there can be rather frustrating for Kjør to have to try and clear out. As well as could be a great place for Solar to mount harassment onto the little bits of gas and mineral that is still remaining here to be mined. In and getting out of there quite quickly. Realizing, you know what, those choke points look pretty rough to push into. That's the lurkers. Are we gonna have that push towards this orbital? Yes, we will. Mostly siege tanks here, and those Zerglings, they are very keen on getting right on top of those bad boys. Dealing with them rather quickly. The Terran army now jumps in as well, as they gonna have to deal with this in some form or fashion. Solar's taking a much larger bite out of the map this time around. I think the 12 o'clock now established, as well as the 7 o'clock. The 6 o'clock doesn't seem too far out of his grasp now either. Here the player backs up into a corner, not the player that has the bank either. That prize once again goes to Solar, as Solar starts laying down the hammer. Starts really... Oh, that was 16 SCVs right there, clumped up together. That 2 Banelings pretty much killed. Yeah, Solar is starting to pull the trigger here. Slowly but surely. It's a weird trigger. You have to pull it multiple times. But it is one that becomes... well, most likely will become easier and easier to pull here, I imagine. Things might just get more dire and dire from Cure's side of things, unless if he truly manages to absolutely bunker up here and take trades of it, you know, trades that the Terran bards will sing about for ages to come. Whatever that news lady is will weep in tears, reminiscing the bravery of the soldiers here. They manage to withstand this in the manner that they need to right now. And so far, I'm not entirely impressed, I have to say. 140 supply versus the, well, quickly gonna be 200 again. You're taking a little bit too much damage in my opinion. Still 90 army supply versus 99. Well, we'll just have to be patient a little bit longer. He's not dead yet, and if we do get some sort of a mess up here out of Cure or a Solar, things could still snowball quite quickly with armies like these. Are we anticipating Solar to ever make such a fault? I don't know. Midas Worm doesn't have anything in there, still requires some form of response. You can't just have a back door into your, well, your own back door. Just be there available. A one-way street for the Zerg to abuse. That's not gonna happen. The right side also claimed now by Solar. The 6 o'clock has been claimed by Solar. It's just a very few amount of bases that Cure has right here. Trying to hold on. It is a dire straits, but he is climbing in his army supply overall. That is the one way he can still win this, in my opinion. If he manages to hang on to his army supply as much as possible, get an army supply just bigger than his opponent, because he has been losing SCVs where his opponent hasn't. Maybe you can get one of those pushes going. Set yourself up somewhere in between all the Zerg bases. Preferably as close to the Zerg main as possible. But, well, more siege tanks going down due to a small amount of Zerglings. Not what you would like to see here. If you're hoping for Cure to still manage something. It's been an uphill battle for a while now. And those can feel rather desperate. Here we go, Solar. Does he have the numbers now? He's chasing down the remaining bio. There's more coming in from the bottom side, I suppose. 82 army supply remains. Losing about 20 or 20 to 30 army supply here from Cure. Just about the same for Solar. Or, well, I guess he just replenishes his army supply a lot quicker. Considering the bank he has. Top right side has been somewhat freed up, though, for that command center. Two little Zerglings right there are being annoying and blocking the command center from going down. Will have to be dealt with eventually. Yeah, this is gaining a lot. This is gaining a lot. I bet you don't even really want to scan those areas, right? Or at least if you don't have to, you really don't want to. Okay, well, this is just a final blow. That is... Ooh. Ooh, Kjør cannot run into this. He cannot try to defend this, but I'm seeing a whole lot of red trying to make their way downhill here. And they are going to try to fight against the lurkers. Now they have to push into the lurkers rather than the lurkers have to push into him. And that could be the end of it. That could be the end of it. Unless if Kjør finds some sort of a play. Like running across the map. But a base trade, right? I mean, how are you imagining a base trade winning Kjør here? I don't see that anymore. I don't see it happen anymore. Solar had just run away with this entire map. The amount of bases he has managed to obtain is just ridiculous. And that will carry you through to a victory. Let's take a look at the unit's trade efficiency, and that is still remarkably close as well. Considering that Solar's just had, like, what, 3 to 4 more bases overall? 2 to 3 more bases. Alright. Alright. Kjør doesn't want to lose. I get that. It's his last leg, guys. You want to try every last bit of breath that you can squeeze out of yourself here, and then, you know what? Sometimes that is just not enough. Sometimes that is just not enough.